Major Asian destinations that once teemed with visitors now stand eerily empty, and their governments are grappling with the looming specter of economic disaster. Many of these countries, heavily reliant on tourism revenue, are now facing potential bankruptcy as the influx of tourists has virtually vanished. Let's explore the plight of these nations, understanding how deeply the crisis has affected daily life. Number 10. Sri Lanka. If you were to walk along Sri Lanka's golden beaches today, you might be struck by the silence. Not long ago, these sands buzzed with visitors from every corner of the world, filling hotels and fueling dreams of prosperity. Then, almost overnight, the flow of tourists dried up. The island's once bright hope for economic revival was crushed by political unrest and global travel bans. Streets that were once filled with the chatter of excited explorers are now strangely quiet. This sudden disappearance of tourists hit Sri Lanka's economy like a tidal wave. So many local families depended on foreign visitors for their livelihoods, from tuk-tuk drivers to market vendors. With tourism revenues gone, Sri Lanka's already fragile finances spiraled downward. The government struggled to pay off massive debts, and the value of the local currency plunged. In a country once famous for its warm hospitality, fear and uncertainty took over. Beyond the numbers, the tourism crisis dramatically altered daily life. Young people, once full of hope and ambition, now face a future without jobs. Many skilled workers have left to find opportunities abroad, creating a painful brain drain. Meanwhile, those who remain are forced to make tough choices just to survive. In Sri Lanka, the empty resorts and shuttered shops are not just symbols of lost business. They are a reflection of lost dreams and a country desperately searching for its way back. Number 9. Maldives. Imagine arriving in the Maldives only to find endless stretches of stunning beaches completely deserted. Just a short time ago, these islands pulsed with life, from bustling resorts to lively local markets. Suddenly, the stream of visitors vanished, leaving resorts abandoned and boats tied up at empty docks. With tourism at the heart of the Maldives' economy, the sudden silence sent shockwaves through every island community. Today, the paradise that once drew travelers from every corner of the globe feels strangely quiet. The economic fallout was immediate and severe. Nearly 3/4 of the Maldives' income came from tourists, so the closures hit hard. Resorts shuttered, employees were sent home, and local businesses collapsed as visitors stopped coming. At the same time, ambitious infrastructure projects funded by overseas loans became difficult to sustain. Environmental protection efforts also stalled, putting coral reefs and unique marine life at greater risk. For everyday Maldivians, daily life became a struggle. Families who once depended on steady hospitality jobs faced sudden unemployment and uncertainty. Young adults, once excited for a future in tourism, began searching for opportunities abroad. As government support dwindled and the islands faced growing challenges, the Maldives' identity as a welcoming, world-class destination seemed to fade away, leaving both people and paradise in limbo. Number 8. Cambodia. Wandering through Cambodia's ancient temple complexes today, you might hear only the sound of wind rustling through the trees. Angkor Wat, once crowded with eager tourists and bustling guides, now sits nearly empty under the tropical sun. The disappearance of visitors happened swiftly, wiping out the heartbeat of Cambodia's tourism industry. Quiet roads, shuttered guest houses, and empty riverboats now tell the story of an unexpected silence. For a country that depended so much on foreign travelers, the loss has been staggering. The collapse of tourism hit Cambodian families in ways that numbers cannot fully capture. Millions who once worked in hotels, restaurants, and tuk-tuk services were left without jobs. Small business owners watched their dreams disappear, while entire villages felt the pinch of missing income. As desperation grew, some turned to risky and illegal activities, from gambling to scams, hoping to survive until the tourists returned. The government's limited resources made it hard to support everyone in need. Beyond the lost income, Cambodia's cultural fabric began to unravel. Skilled artisans and performers struggled to preserve traditional crafts without visitors to support them. Many young people left rural areas for uncertain futures in big cities or across borders. The grandeur of Cambodia's heritage sites remains, but the people who once brought them to life are now missing. In this quiet, the echoes of a lost tourism boom linger everywhere. Number 7. Myanmar. In Myanmar, cities that once bustled with travelers now feel frozen in time. The ancient temples of Bagan stand quietly under the hot sun, no longer surrounded by curious explorers and colorful tour buses. After the political upheaval in 2021, international visitors vanished almost overnight. With borders closed and safety concerns mounting, hotels, restaurants, and river cruises came to a standstill. The joy and energy that tourism once brought to Myanmar now feel like a distant memory. The impact rippled through the nation's fragile economy. Whole communities that relied on tourism, guides, artisans, shopkeepers, lost their main source of income. Heritage sites, once carefully maintained, started to show signs of neglect as funds disappeared. In the wake of lost opportunities, civil unrest and uncertainty deepened. Many locals, especially the young, found themselves caught between wanting to stay and being forced to seek safety or work elsewhere. Myanmar's tourism crisis has reshaped daily life in ways few could have imagined. Cities and towns that once thrived on visitors now struggle with social and economic challenges. The absence of tourists did not just hurt businesses, it fueled a wider sense of instability and fear. Today, Myanmar's empty monuments stand as stark reminders of a country searching for hope in the shadows of political and economic turmoil. Number 6. Nepal. If you gaze up at Nepal's majestic peaks today, you'll notice a stillness where adventure once thrived. Once, the paths to Everest buzzed with climbers and trekkers from around the world, filling tea houses and hiring local guides. But after the tourism crash, the famous trails became empty, and expeditions were cancelled season after season. The dreams of those living in remote mountain villages faded as visitors stopped coming. Nepal's once thriving tourism heartbeat fell almost silent. The loss reached deep into the fabric of daily life. Villages that depended on trekkers and climbers for income saw their young people leave in search of work elsewhere. Newly built hotels and lodges, constructed with hope for future travelers, now sit empty and gathering dust. Shopkeepers, porters, and guides faced hard choices, often giving up the livelihoods they had known for generations. As tourism dollars vanished, families struggled to afford even basic necessities. This quiet crisis has left a mark that goes beyond economics. The spirit of Nepal's communities, once so proud of welcoming adventurers, has been tested. Many wonder if they'll ever see the crowds return or if their traditional way of life is slipping away. The empty mountain trails and deserted villages now stand as silent witnesses to dreams put on hold, waiting for a new beginning. Number 5. Laos. Travelers used to flock to Laos for its laid-back riverside towns and lively backpacker scene. Places like Vang Vieng thrived on a steady flow of adventurous visitors floating down the river and exploring limestone caves. But when the world stopped traveling, the party ended. Hostels and guest houses that once buzzed with laughter were left with empty beds. Even the much-anticipated high-speed railway opened to a country with no tourists to fill its trains. For the people of Laos, the economic fallout was swift and painful. Small businesses that catered to travelers struggled to stay afloat, while countless workers in hospitality lost their jobs. The sudden drop in tourism also put a stop to community projects and left local farmers without customers for their produce. As opportunities dried up, a wave of young Laotians left in search of work in neighboring countries, creating a growing brain drain that hurt both families and the national economy. This quiet exodus changed life in Laos at its core. Rural villages once animated by the arrival of new faces each day grew eerily still. Local guides, artisans, and entertainers found themselves without an audience. With the loss of tourism, Laos not only faced financial hardship but also watched a vibrant part of its identity begin to fade. Now the country waits for a new chance to welcome the world back. Number 4. Mongolia. Imagine the endless Mongolian steppe, where adventure seekers once camped in traditional yurts beneath vast, starry skies. The echo of galloping horses and festival drums has faded, leaving nomadic communities in a silence that feels unnatural. When global tourism stopped, eco-tours and cultural journeys disappeared almost overnight. Major festivals which used to draw crowds from every continent were cancelled. In Mongolia, the emptiness is felt not just in its landscapes, but in the hearts of its people. The economic impact was swift and unforgiving. Local guides, herders, and craftspeople saw their main source of income vanish. With few visitors to buy their goods or join their tours, families struggled to make ends meet. Many young people left the countryside, heading for crowded cities in hopes of better work. As the rural population shrank, traditions passed down for generations faced an uncertain future. For Mongolia, the loss goes far beyond numbers. Once, the world came to marvel at its heritage and wild beauty. Now even the most iconic sites stand empty. This pause in tourism has threatened both the culture and community bonds that make Mongolia unique. While the steppe remains as breathtaking as ever, it now waits quietly, hoping for the day when laughter, music, and visitors will return. Number 3. Thailand. Thailand's streets, once alive with the sights and sounds of tourists, now echo with a strange quiet. Famous places like Phuket, Pattaya, and Bangkok, where travelers packed night markets and beaches, suddenly emptied out. The heartbeat of street vendors and local performers faded as visitor numbers plummeted. For a country known for its endless energy and warm welcomes, the silence felt almost surreal. In Thailand, the tourism crisis profoundly changed the rhythm of daily life. The financial blow was staggering. Hotels that once brimmed with guests stood shuttered, and entire rows of shops closed down. A wave of ghost hotels appeared, their empty rooms a stark symbol of lost hope. Many workers in hospitality, from chefs to tour guides, lost their jobs overnight and struggled to find new ways to survive. As desperation grew, some turned to scams or petty crimes just to keep food on the table. Yet beyond the economics, the cultural cost was deep. Artisans, performers, and local businesses found themselves without an audience, their talents at risk of being forgotten. Thailand's unique charm, built on vibrant street life and personal connections, faded with the tourists' departure. Now the country waits for a comeback, hoping its world-famous spirit will bring back the crowds. Number 2. Indonesia. If you picture Bali's famous beaches today, you'll see empty shores where vibrant crowds once gathered. Indonesia's most beloved island, long a magnet for surfers, artists, and spiritual seekers, faced an unprecedented silence. When the tourists disappeared, local markets and temples, usually bustling with energy, stood quiet. From the lively nightlife in Seminyak to the peaceful rice fields in Ubud, the absence of visitors changed the very atmosphere of Bali and beyond. The economic shock was immediate and widespread. More than 4 out of 5 jobs in Bali depended on tourism, so entire families lost their main source of income. Restaurants, surf schools, and homestays closed their doors, leaving thousands jobless. Local artisans who made traditional crafts for visitors struggled to keep their businesses alive. Even basic necessities became harder to afford, with food insecurity rising in areas that once thrived on tourist spending. Culturally, the loss cut deep. Ceremonies and performances that once dazzled guests faded as artists had no one to share their heritage with. Children grew up watching their parents lose hope. While some families considered leaving Bali for opportunities elsewhere, the island's famous warmth and creativity endured. But many now wonder when or if the energy and inspiration brought by travelers will ever truly return. Number 1. Vietnam. Picture Vietnam's breathtaking Halong Bay, where cruise boats once danced across emerald waters filled with visitors from around the world. Now, the legendary landscape sits eerily calm, with only a handful of boats drifting by empty limestone islands. Popular cities like Da Nang and Ho Chi Minh City have seen their lively markets and buzzing nightlife fade into silence. The sudden loss of tourism didn't just slow things down, it changed the entire mood of the country. The economic crisis that followed was unlike anything Vietnam had faced in recent history. Countless small business owners who borrowed heavily to expand during the tourism boom found themselves unable to pay back their loans. Former tour guides, hotel workers, and street vendors were forced out of work and, in many cases, out of their homes. Urban slums grew as people left rural tourist towns for the city, searching for any opportunity to survive. But the collapse of tourism in Vietnam is more than a story about lost money. The disruption touched every aspect of daily life, from the arts to education. Communities that once thrived on cultural exchanges with travelers are struggling to keep traditions alive. As empty and quiet streets linger, Vietnam now stands at a crossroads, searching for a new way forward while waiting and hoping for the return of visitors who once brought so much life and promise. These stories reveal how quickly fortunes can change when tourism vanishes. Which of these countries surprised you most with how deeply the crisis has affected daily life? Are you seeing similar changes where you live or travel?